I took what was the cheapest Porsche 911 in the country at the time of purchase, and it went from this to this. Before starting any of the real work, I sprayed the bolts with penetrating lubricant and let it sit overnight. The next day, I drove the car onto ramps to be able to start the work. So I've read up on how to take off the muffler, and many claim that you can do it without taking off the bumper cover. And well, I'm lazy, so I'm gonna give it a try. I removed the two 17mm bolts connecting the catalytic converter to the muffler and moved the sleeve toward the catalytic converter. Next, I removed the three 13mm bolts holding the back bracket to the muffler, and the muffler came loose. I tried it without taking the bumper cover off, and I just couldn't get it off. The muffler won't come out. I think it might be possible if you take off the rear wheels, but it just won't work with ramps. So now to take this off. To take the bumper cover off, first you remove the screws holding the metal strip visible when you open the engine lid. A drill will make this much easier, but be careful not to strip any of the screws. The metal strip can then be removed and set aside. At the bottom of the cover, there are 4 screws that you need to remove. Next, I needed a 6mm socket tool, so yay, I get to go purchase a new tool. After a quick run to Lowe's, I was able to loosen the bolts, and then the bumperettes will lift up and out. Some of the online tutorials I read said that you could now take the bumper cover off. What they didn't say is that there are 2 screws that need to be removed located in the wheel well at the top of the bumper cover on the back side. After removing these, I was able to get the bumper cover off, but the steps I had read online didn't mention anything about the wire for the license plate light. Next, I removed the heat shield around the mufflers, and I removed all of the visible bolts, and then I tried to remove it and realized I missed yet another bolt. Once I rectified that, I was able to take off the heat shield and see the muffler. Trying to make sure I don't lose any of the nuts or bolts, I've made sure to put them all in plastic baggies. Of course, I forgot to label them, so hopefully I remember where they go. I was finally able to remove each muffler, and then I shipped them from Florida to FD Motorsports in California. I next waited about 2 weeks for my Pfister sports exhaust to arrive. If I had bought a manual transmission car, then I wouldn't have had to wait quite so long. But Darren Pfister of FD Motorsports let me know that he didn't have any 996 Timtronic mufflers just laying around. But since mine were in good shape, he could modify mine, and I just have to send them to him. And here's one of them. Kind of hard to believe that it's even the same muffler. The difference is this pipe. Other than cleaning them up, making them look nice, this pipe is what gives all the sound. This is supposed to give you a much sportier exhaust note and not have the drone that is typical of an aftermarket exhaust. So let's get these bad boys on. Installation of the new muffler should be the opposite of taking it off, but I took the easy way, taking the exhaust off, and there were still brackets and the muffler tips left on. Because of this, FD Motorsports removed the bracket and the exhaust tips, so I needed to put the bracket back on with these 2 bolts. Once that was done, I put the muffler in place and attached the 3 13mm nuts. I reattached the muffler tips and adjusted each of them. One went on perfectly, but the other was just flopping around even when I had tightened it all the way. But I figured I'd just come back to this later because I didn't know what to do. I then connected everything in reverse, hoping that I didn't miss a screw or a nut. Once everything was reconnected, I took another look at the exhaust tip and noticed that the connector wasn't sitting even. Once I figured this out, I loosened the connector and was able to get it to sit correctly and retighten the bolt. And it was all done. Well, until I realized there were 2 bolts left over and that the bumperettes weren't installed. So I had to go back and install them. So now I just hope nothing falls out because, I don't trust my work until it's been a few weeks or so and I forget what I've done. So now what you've all been waiting for, the before and after, to see what it's like in a couple of different real world scenarios. When you're at cruising speeds, the car isn't a ton louder. You don't have to raise your voice to be able to talk to other people. None of that. Unlike some aftermarket exhausts where it is insanely loud, It's just the right amount. So you're not likely to get unwanted attention by, the police. But when the road opens up and you're given the chance, you can do this. So does it sound like an early 996 GT3? Here's a side-by-side comparison of an early 996 GT3 and the Pfister sports exhaust. I'd say it isn't too far off, but let me know if you think I'm just crazy in the comments. And a special thanks to Darren Pfister for hooking me up with this awesome exhaust setup. If you are interested in this FD Motorsports exhaust upgrade that is much more affordable than a good aftermarket exhaust, I'll put a link to the website in the description. The thing is, you probably want to see this entire build from beginning to end. So check out this playlist with the entire journey.